I never imagined a single phone call could unravel my world, but that's exactly what happened on a crisp Saturday morning in my cozy Denver apartment. The sun streamed through my window, casting golden patches on my coffee table, where my mug steamed beside a half-read novel. I was savoring the quiet, lost in the rhythm of a perfect weekend when my phone buzzed Mom's name glowing on the screen. I answered with a grin, expecting her usual chatter about grocery lists or Dad's latest business venture. Instead, her voice carried a strange, formal edge that made my stomach twist before she even spoke my name. Payton. Honey, she began, her tone clipped. Your father and I love you very much. You know that? I sat up, clutching my mug tightly. What's going on, Mom? My heart thudded as she hesitated, then plunged into the news. Dad's 60th birthday celebration, planned for next weekend at the upscale Riverside restaurant, was having its guest list refined. I'd had the date circled in red on my kitchen calendar for months, a milestone I'd been eager to celebrate. We're making some cuts, she said, her words sharp as glass. Important business contacts are coming, and we've decided it's best if you don't attend this time. The mug nearly slipped from my hands. Excuse me, I managed, my voice thin. She rushed on as if speed could soften the blow. We see you all the time, Payton. This is about your father's business. We'll have you over for a barbecue later, okay? My pulse roared in my ears. Are Jake and Melanie still invited? I asked, naming my older siblings. A pause. Well, yes, she admitted. But they're not Dad's business partners either. I snapped sharper than I meant. Payton, you're so quiet at parties, she said, as if that justified it. You prefer your privacy, don't you? Before I could respond, Dad's voice boomed through the speaker, gruff and impatient. Payton, be reasonable. Your brother and sister need to network. One of them will take over the company someday. The truth hit like a slap. I wasn't part of their vision. Not now, not ever. My role in the family was ornamental, expendable. Without another word, I ended the call, my thumb trembling on the screen. The apartment felt too small, the air too thick. I stared at the calendar, the red circle mocking me. My coffee had gone cold, mirroring the chill settling in my chest. They'd chosen strangers, business associates over me, their daughter. The betrayal stung deeper than I could name a wound that whispered I wasn't enough. I sat frozen, the weight of their words pressing down, wondering how a family could make you feel so invisible. The sting of my parents' rejection lingered like a bruise, but by mid-morning, a spark of defiance flickered in me. Daring to burn brighter, I was still reeling, curled on my couch in my Denver apartment, when I realized I couldn't just sit here letting their words define me. My phone felt heavy in my hand, but I dialed Lisa, my best friend whose voice was a lifeline. They did what she exploded when I recounted the call, her outrage, a balm to my raw nerves. As she ranted, my gaze drifted to the window and I froze. There in the courtyard below gleamed a black SUV, its massive red bow glinting in the sunlight. A gift I'd spent 2 years saving for, meant for Dad's birthday. I'd taken extra shifts, skipped vacations, and haggled with the dealership to make it perfect. Now it stood as a monument to my naivety, and something inside me snapped. Lisa, I'll call you back. I said, a plan forming like a gathering storm. I dialed my boss Mark at the architectural firm where I'd been grinding away on the West Side project. Mark, can I take my vacation time starting Monday? 2 weeks, I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Perfect timing. He replied, his tone warm. You just wrapped up West Side. Take the break. Payton, relief surged through me. Next, I called Lisa again. Can you come over now? Bring your camera gear. I'm keeping the SUV and we're going on a road trip. Her squeal of excitement nearly deafened me. I'm there in 40. Lisa arrived, her arms laden with photography equipment, her eyes widening at the SUV. That's what you got for your dad? It's gorgeous, she said, circling it like a kid at a car show. Was for him. I corrected, a wry smile tugging at my lips. Now it's mine tomorrow. We're driving it across the country. Lisa's face lit up. Seriously, I'll bring my professional gear, shoot landscapes for my portfolio. I nodded, the idea crystallizing. You shoot, I'll drive. No thinking about my family. She grabbed her camera. First, let's get shots of you with your new ride. For an hour, we played models and photographers in the courtyard. I posed beside the SUV, leaning against its sleek frame, sitting on the hood. Sunglasses perched on my nose. Lisa's camera clicked, capturing my defiance in every frame. I chose the best shot, me standing tall, hand on hip, looking like I owned the world, and posted it on Instagram. The caption was sharp, deliberate. This was supposed to be a gift, but when someone doesn't want you at their party, you keep the presents. Comments flooded in, friends demanding details, emojis of shock, but I ignored them. A quiet satisfaction warming me. My phone rang an hour later. Mom's name flashing. "Payton, what are you doing?" she demanded, her voice, a mix of fury and panic. "Take that post down. You're embarrassing us." I could hear her shift to a sweeter tone, manipulative as ever. "We've reconsidered. We'd love for you to come to the party and bring that lovely gift." I laughed softly, but coldly. "No thanks, Mom. I've got plans. And the car's mine now." I hung up before she could argue, my heart racing but resolute. Lisa, sorting her camera gear, raised an eyebrow. "You okay?" I nodded, feeling the weight of my choice settle. "Pack tonight," I told her. "We leave at dawn." As I stood by the SUV that evening, its keys heavy in my hand, I felt a shift. This wasn't just about a car or a trip. It was about reclaiming my worth, refusing to be the afterthought in my own family. The road ahead promised freedom, and for the first time since that morning's call, I felt ready to claim it. Dawn broke over Denver like a promise, painting the sky in hues of peach and gold as I slid into the driver's seat of my SUV, its leather interior still carrying that intoxicating new car scent. Lisa, bleary-eyed but buzzing with excitement, tossed her suitcases and camera gear into the trunk, her grin as wide as the open road ahead. Yesterday's defiance had ignited this journey, but now, with the city shrinking in my rearview mirror, I felt something new, freedom sharp and exhilarating, urging me to outrun the ache of my family's rejection. As we hit the highway, the SUV purring beneath me, I wondered if 500 miles could mend a heart bruised by those who should have cherished it most. Lisa fiddled with her camera, mounting it on the dashboard to capture the sunrise spilling over the Rockies. "Eagle Ridge first," I suggested, my voice light, as if I could outpace the sting of Mom's last call. "Perfect," Lisa replied, already adjusting her lens. The miles melted away, the SUV handling every curve with a grace that made my chest swell with pride. This wasn't just a vehicle. It was my rebellion, my stake in a life I'd define. By noon, we'd crossed into Wyoming, the landscape unfurling in rolling hills and crystalline lakes. Eagle Ridge's overlook was breathtaking, a panorama of emerald slopes kissing a sapphire sky. Lisa leaped out, tripod in hand, her enthusiasm infectious. "Get in the shot, Payton," she called, and I obliged, leaning against the SUV's hood, wind tousling my hair, feeling like I belonged to this moment, not my family's expectations. Lisa's camera clicked, freezing my newfound boldness in time. I selected a photo, me sunglasses glinting the vast vista behind me, and posted it on Instagram with a caption that cut like a quiet blade. "Some gifts are better appreciated on your terms." Notifications pinged, friends flooding my feed with questions, but I silenced my phone, savoring the open air. We drove onto Lakeside Point, its shimmering waters framed by ancient pines. Lisa worked her magic again, capturing me perched on the SUV, carefree in a way I hadn't felt in years. Another post, another caption. Finding my path, 1 mile at a time. Each photo was a declaration, a signal to my parents that I wasn't invisible, not anymore. That evening, as we grabbed burgers at a roadside diner, my phone rang, an unfamiliar number. "Payton, it's Robert Daniels," came a deep, familiar voice. My father's oldest friend, a towering figure in his construction empire, had always treated me with a warmth my parents rarely spared. "I saw your posts," he said, his tone serious. "What's going on?" I hesitated, then poured out the truth, the uninvitation, the business-first excuse, the SUV I'd kept. He listened, his silence heavy with judgment, not of me, but of them. "That's not right, Payton," he said finally. "Enjoy your trip. Be safe." I hung up a knot, loosening in my chest, only to tighten again, when Mom called an hour later, her voice shrill. "Robert's not coming to the party. Payton, he's our biggest investor, and you've stirred up trouble with your childish posts." I kept my tone even. I told the truth, Mom. That's all I ended the call. My hands steady the diner's neon glow reflecting my resolve. Lisa raised her milkshake to the road, she said, and I clinked my glass. Feeling the miles ahead beckon. The morning of Dad's 60th birthday, I woke in a Wyoming motel, the sun filtering through thin curtains, casting stripes across Lisa's sleeping form. A year ago, I'd pictured myself at Riverside Restaurant, toasting Dad with a smile, the SUV's keys in a velvet box. Now, 700 miles from Denver, that dream felt like a stranger's memory. Yet as I sipped bitter motel coffee, a quiet thrill pulsed through me. I was here carving my own story while my parents faced the consequences of their choice. Today wasn't about their celebration. It was about mine, etched in the trails of a national park and the click of Lisa's camera. We drove to Yellowstone, its geysers hissing and peaks piercing the sky. Lisa snapped photos of ancient trees and misty valleys, her excitement a steady anchor. I posed by the SUV at a lookout, the park's wild beauty framing me, and posted the shot with a caption that carried a subtle sting, celebrating what matters far from those who don't. My phone buzzed with likes, but I ignored them, focusing on the trail ahead. At noon, Mom called, her voice frayed. "Payton, this has to stop," she said. "Pastor Williams called Dad, Robert told him everything, and now he's refusing to attend tonight, saying we lack family values." I couldn't suppress a laugh, sharp and unbidden. "So the pastor has better principles than you?" I asked. "This isn't funny," she snapped. "You've humiliated us." My voice hardened. "Humiliation is being told strangers matter more than your daughter." I hung up, my pulse racing, but a strange calm settled over me as Lisa and I hiked deeper into the park. That evening, in a hotel restaurant with checkered tablecloths, I gave in to curiosity and opened Melanie's Instagram. The photos hit harder than I expected. Riverside's banquet hall, meant for 100, held barely 15 people. Mom's smile was tight, Dad's eyes distant, Melanie and Jake stiff beside them, everyone pretending joy in a room echoing with absence. Lisa peered over my shoulder. "That's sad," she said, but pity didn't come. Instead, a fierce vindication surged through me. They'd chosen business over me, and now their precious connections had vanished. I posted another photo from Yellowstone, me laughing by the SUV mountains behind me with the caption, "Some parties aren't worth attending." The notifications exploded, but I set my phone face down, savoring my steak and the clarity of my choice. Lisa and I planned tomorrow's route over dessert, the road trip weaving us tighter together. My family's drama felt distant, a storm I'd outrun. Yet as I scrolled through comments later, a message from Melanie flickered on my screen. "Dad's party is tonight. You should be here. Family is family." I showed Lisa, who snorted. "She didn't fight for you when they cut you out." I nodded, deleting the message. Yellowstone's vastness had reminded me of my resilience, and I wasn't turning back. As we clinked glasses, toasting to the journey, I realized I wasn't just escaping my family. I was building a life where I mattered 1 mile, 1 photo, 1 choice at a time. The Wyoming sky burned crimson as Lisa and I drove toward Montana, the SUV's tires humming a steady rhythm that couldn't quite drown out the unease creeping into my bones. Yellowstone's wild beauty had fortified my resolve, but a nagging instinct whispered that my family's anger was far from spent. 900 miles from Denver, I'd carved out a space where I felt whole, yet the weight of their rejection lingered, a shadow I couldn't outrun. As Lisa adjusted her camera lens, capturing the dusk, I gripped the wheel tighter, sensing the road trip's carefree spark dimming under the threat of what awaited back home. Aunt Patricia's call came as we checked into a modest motel off I-90, its neon sign flickering in the twilight. "Payton," she said, her voice taut. "Your father's furious. He's talking about confronting you when you're back. Be careful, honey." My stomach churned, but I thanked her, hanging up with a resolve that felt like steel. I dialed Mrs. Grayson, my landlady, her warm tone, a comfort. "Mrs. Grayson, it's Payton. I need a favor. My parents have keys to my apartment. Can you change the locks before I return?" I asked, explaining the family rift without diving into details. Consider it done, she assured me, and I'll tell the concierge to keep them out. Gratitude steadied me, a small victory in a battle I hadn't chosen. Days later, Charlie the concierge greeted us at a Utah rest stop where we'd paused to stretch our legs. I'd asked him to update me, and his call painted a chilling picture. 3 days ago, your brother and sister showed up with spray cans like they meant to tag your place. He said I stopped them per Mrs. Grayson's orders. My breath caught Jake and Melanie stooping to vandalism. And yesterday, Charlie continued, an older couple came angry. The man shouted about family loyalty. I threatened to call the cops, and they left my parents. The betrayal cut deeper, their audacity a stark reminder of their disregard. Thank you, Charlie, I said, my voice steady, despite the tremor in my hands. That night, as Lisa edited photos in our motel room, a text from Jake lit up my phone. You've ruined everything. Hope you're happy, I showed Lisa, who frowned. What's he mean? She asked. Probably Dad's business. I replied, a pang of guilt flickering before I smothered it. Their choices, not mine, had led to this. We posted fewer photos now, the road trip's initial defiance giving way to a quieter strength. At a Montana overlook, Lisa snapped a final shot of me by the SUV. The horizon vast behind me, I captioned it simply, choosing my peace. As we drove on, I felt the journey nearing its end, my heart ready to face Denver, not as their daughter, but as myself. Back in Denver, the city's skyline felt both familiar and foreign, as if the 200 miles I'd traveled had redrawn my place in it. The SUV glided into my apartment's lot, its gleam undimmed by dust and time. Charlie rushed out, confirming the locks were changed, his nod a quiet reassurance that my boundaries held. 3 months later, at 28, I'd woven a new rhythm into my life projects at the firm earned me praise. Lisa's photos from our trip adorned her studio, and my family's calls had faded to silence. Yet as I sipped coffee on my balcony one afternoon, a news alert froze me. Wilson Construction halts riverfront project amid funding. Woes. My father's empire was crumbling, and I wondered if I'd unwittingly swung the first blow. The article detailed how Robert Daniels' withdrawn investment had gutted Dad's ambitions, a loss tied to his risky ventures, and implicitly to me, guilt tangled with relief. A knot I couldn't untie. Aunt Claire's call that evening didn't help. Payton, your vindictiveness is hurting your parents, she said, her voice icy. I took a breath, steadying myself. I wasn't vindictive, Aunt Claire. I shared the truth they chose business over me, not once, but always. I'm done being their afterthought. Her silence was deafening, her stiff reply. They deserve better, met with my own. So do I. I ended the call, the city lights below a canvas for my thoughts. Had I gone too far? The question gnawed, but I pushed it aside, unwilling to shrink again. That night, Mrs. Grayson called, her voice apologetic. Mr. Daniels is here, says he's your father's friend. My heart skipped, but I let him up. Robert stood at my door, his kind eyes softening the weight of his presence. Payton, he said. Stepping into my modest apartment, I wanted to check on you. Over coffee, he explained his decision to pull funding, his words measured. Your father's been reckless for years, ignoring advice. What he did to you was the final straw, but not the only reason. Relief washed over me, his validation a balm. He blames you entirely, Robert added, almost rueful. Of course he does, I said, a bitter edge to my smile. But I admire you. Payton, standing up wasn't easy. His words lingered, a quiet absolution as he left. The next day I drove the SUV to Lisa's studio, its curves catching the Colorado sun. Lisa greeted me with a grin, her prints of our trip now selling to decorators. You seem lighter, she observed, pouring wine. I am, I said, clinking glasses. I know I did right by myself. The SUV, once a gift for Dad, was now my emblem of independence, each mile driven a testament to my worth. We toasted to visibility and real family values, the kind built on respect, not obligation. My parents, Jake, Melanie, they might never see me as enough, but that was their loss, not mine. That night, I cruised along the coast windows, down the Pacific's salt air mingling with my music. The SUV hugged the road, a partner in my liberation. I thought of Robert's words, Lisa's loyalty, My colleagues' praise, people who saw me truly. My family's approval, once a tether was a chain I'd broken. The road trip, the posts, the locks, they weren't revenge but reclamation. A stand for a life where I wasn't less than. As Denver's lights faded behind me, I smiled the road ahead, mine to claim every mile a step toward a Payton who mattered to herself most of all. The glass elevator at Morgan Technologies hums softly, pulling me upward through a cathedral of steel and ambition. Each floor a silent tick toward a moment I've orchestrated for 2 years. My reflection flickers in the polished walls, a 28-year-old woman in a simple gray blazer bought on clearance at Macy's. Nothing like the tailored suits gliding past me. My fingers brush the leather of my briefcase, heavy with secrets that could topple empires, or at least one man's ego. Below Chicago's skyline sprawls oblivious to the reckoning awaiting on the 45th floor. I've waited, planned, and sacrificed for this day. And as the numbers climb, I wonder, will they finally see me? Not as the shadow of my brother, but as the architect of my destiny. The elevator doors slide open at the 38th floor, and a man in a navy suit steps in his cufflinks, glinting like tiny stars. He doesn't glance my way, assuming I'm just another junior analyst or receptionist, a nobody in this corporate cosmos. I nod politely, letting him believe it. My phone buzzes in my pocket, and I know without looking it's Marcus. My brother with another directive, I pull it out, and there it is. Where are you? Stay in the back. Don't draw attention. This is my night. His words sting, but I don't reply. Instead, I watch the floors tick by 3940, each number a step closer to the boardroom where Marcus expects to be crowned Senior Vice President of Operations. Growing up, Marcus was the sun in our family's orbit. With his easy smile and calculated charm, he could talk his way into anything: a teacher's favor, a summer job, our parents' pride. I was the moon, pale and quiet, buried in business books while he dazzled. Why can't you be more like your brother? My mother would sigh, her eyes lingering on Marcus's trophies. I'd bite my tongue, retreating to my room to study finance and strategy, determined to carve my path. When I earned my MBA at 26, Marcus smirked, calling it just paper compared to his real-world hustle. Our parents nodded as if my degree were a consolation prize. The elevator hums past the 42nd floor, and I adjust my blazer, smoothing a crease. 2 years ago, I started my consulting firm, a silly little project in Marcus's words. While he climbed Morgan's ranks, I worked nights advising tech startups and quietly buying shares in their competitors. Every late-night spreadsheet, every handshake with investors led to this moment. My briefcase holds the proof documents detailing my acquisition of a controlling interest in Morgan Technologies. Marcus has no idea. Neither do our parents, who still see me as the academic who plays it safe. The man in the navy suit exits at the 44th floor, leaving me alone as the elevator dings for the 45th. My heart beats steadily, not with fear but with purpose. I step out the sleek hallway, stretching before me like a runway to my future. Memories of Marcus's taunts echo his voice at last month's family dinner, cutting through the clink of wine glasses, Evelyn still hiding in books, while I'm about to make history at Morgan. My parents beamed oblivious to the empire I'd built in the shadows. I clutch my briefcase tighter, its weight grounding me. The boardroom doors loom ahead. Glass panels revealing a crowd gathered for Marcus's triumph. But this isn't his story, it's mine, and it's only just beginning. The Morgan Technologies conference room door gleamed under recessed lights, a portal to Marcus's moment of glory, or so he thought. I paused in the hallway, my reflection a ghostly shadow on the glass, a woman carrying 2 years of secrets in my briefcase, a silent witness to the drama about to unfold. My brother's text was still imprinted on my mind. Stay behind. Don't embarrass me. But I wasn't here to fade into obscurity. I was here to rewrite the script, and as I pushed through the door, I felt the weight of every late night, every calculated risk pushing me forward. Inside the conference room buzzed with anticipation. Mahogany tables stretched beneath crystal chandeliers, and executives in tailored suits whispered their eyes on Marcus. He stood near the front, his smile like a polished weapon. He held court, shaking hands, his laugh ringing as if he had been crowned. Our parents sat in the front row, my mother's pearls glinting, my father's tie knotted to perfection. They beamed with pride, their golden child about to become the youngest senior vice president in Morgan history. I slipped into the room, keeping my distance from everyone without anyone noticing. It was fine. I had spent years being invisible to them. I find a spot near the back, my briefcase at my feet. Memories of last month's family dinner surface sharp as a blade. Marcus had leaned back in his chair, slicing into his steak, his voice dripping with condescension. Evelyn's still playing professor while I'm closing deals that keep Morgan ahead. My mother had beamed her fork, pausing midair. We're so proud of you, sweetheart. Some people just aren't built for the corporate grind. My father nodded, adding academia suits Evelyn. It's safe, predictable. I'd smiled, sipped my water, and said nothing. They didn't know I'd been meeting with Morgan's CEO Miranda Chin for months. Not about Marcus's promotion, but about something far bigger. Marcus saw me now, his smile fading. He pushed through the crowd, striding purposefully, and stopped a few inches away, his voice a low hiss. I told you to stay behind, Evelyn. This is my moment. Don't try to socialize or anything. He glanced at me, a smirk curving his lips, and try to be professional, at least. Don't mention that we're related. I returned his gaze, my voice soft but steady. Don't worry, Marcus. I'm not here to steal your attention. He snorted, turning away satisfied that I wasn't a threat. I checked my watch. 6:55 p.m. Right on schedule, Miranda Chin would be there in 5 minutes to make the announcement. The room quiets as executives take their seats, the air thick with expectation. I stand my fingers brushing the briefcase. Marcus returns to the front, straightening his tie, his confidence a tangible force. Our parents lean forward, my mother clutching her purse. My father's eyes fixed on his son. They've always seen Marcus as the star, the one who'd carry the family name to greatness. I was the afterthought, the daughter who chose books over boardrooms, or so they thought. They don't know about the shares I've acquired, the competitors I've outmaneuvered, the empire I've built, while they praised Marcus's every step. A murmur rippled through the crowd as the doors to the conference room opened. Miranda Chin strode in her presence, commanding her tailored black suit, as sharp as her reputation. She approached the podium, notebook in hand, and I felt a surge of anticipation. Marcus adjusted his cufflinks, ready for his name to be called. He didn't know what was coming. None of them did. I shifted my weight and my posture became more confident. The stage was set, and I was no longer the invisible sister. In a moment, the world would see me for who I truly was, and Marcus would learn the price of underestimating me. The conference room's crystal chandeliers cast prisms across the polished mahogany, but all eyes were on Miranda Chin at the podium, her voice cutting through the expectant silence like a knife through silk. I stood back, my heart pounding steadily as I watched Marcus groom himself, his navy, a second skin of confidence. And I felt the weight of 2 years, every late-night trade, every hidden stock purchase converging into this moment. I knew I was no longer the sister hiding in the background. I was the storm that was about to hit. And as Miranda's eyes swept the room, I knew the tide was turning. Ladies and gentlemen, Miranda began her notes, rustling with obvious purpose. Thank you for joining us at Morgan Technologies. Tonight, we're announcing not just a promotion, but a new chapter for our company. Marcus straightened his triumphant smile, as if certain his name was next. Our parents leaned forward in the front row, my father's hands clasped in anticipation. I shifted my weight, my gray Macy's coat a badge of my journey, modest but worthy. Miranda's voice sharpened. Before we discuss promotions, I must share an important development. For the past year, I've been searching for a leader with vision, integrity, and a bold grasp of the future of our industry. Marcus's grin widens his cufflinks, catching the light. He doesn't see Miranda's eyes flicker toward me, a signal we've rehearsed in clandestine meetings. That search, she continues, led me to someone whose business acumen is matched by their innovative spirit. Someone who, without fanfare, built an investment portfolio, controlling 3 of our major competitors. A murmur ripples through the room. Marcus's smile falters a crack in his polished facade. My pulse quickens, not with nerves, but with the thrill of a plan unfolding. This individual, Miranda says, has as of this morning acquired a 51% stake in Morgan Technologies through strategic share purchases. The murmurs grow louder, a tide of confusion. Marcus's face pales, his tie suddenly too tight. Our parents exchange glances, their pride curdling into unease. Miranda pauses, letting the tension coil, then extends her hand toward me. Please join me in welcoming the new owner and CEO of Morgan Technologies, Dr. Evelyn Mitchell. The room freezes, a tableau of shock. Marcus stumbles, his prepared speech slipping from his fingers to the floor. My mother's purse drops with a soft thud, my father's jaw slack. I step forward, my heels clicking on the hardwood each step, a reclamation of years spent in their shadows. The crowd parted, the executives staring as I approached the podium. Miranda stepped aside, her slight nod, a sign of our alliance. I set down the briefcase, the contents, the proof of my purchase waiting behind. Thank you, Miranda, I said, my voice clear. Filling the stunned silence, I had defeated them all, not with charm, but with relentless strategy. Marcus's eyes met mine, betrayed and disbelieving. Our parents sat like statues, their worlds turned upside down. I glanced across the room, seeing Jennifer Torres, a young executive watching with quiet curiosity. She would be part of what came next. For now, I stood tall, the conference room. My command, Morgan Technologies, I began, is about to change. Let's talk about why. There was silence, a breath before the plunge. I had been waiting for this, not to gloat, but to prove what hard work and vision could do. Marcus's moment had passed. My moment was just beginning, and as I gripped the podium, I knew this was just the first step in a larger plan. It was getting dark outside, but I felt illuminated, ready to lead, ready to reshape everything. The stunned silence in the conference room stretched like the aftershock of a thunderclap. My words still echoing as I stood at the podium, the new CEO of Morgan Technologies. Marcus swayed near the front, his face ashen with disbelief. The windows dimmed into twilight, but the tension in the room burned brightly. All eyes on me. I had only just taken the reins of the company, but the real work began, now exposing the cracks in Marcus's carefully constructed image and setting the tone for what Morgan would become under my watch. Before we move forward, I said, my voice, even there is still unfinished business. Marcus, please join me. The room moved, the whispers echoing like static. Marcus stiffened, his eyes darting as if searching for an escape. Our parents, sitting in the front row, gripped their chairs, my mother's knuckles white, my father's face flushed. Marcus? I repeated, letting a steel note creep into my voice. He moved, each step stiff, as if pulled by an invisible chain. The crowd watched. He stepped onto the podium, standing a foot away, his breathing uneven. I opened my briefcase, took out a thick sheaf of evidence, its weight like a promise kept. As you know, I addressed the room. Marcus was slated to become Senior Vice President of Operations. That plan has changed. Marcus's head snaps up, hope and fear warring in his eyes. I hold up a document, its pages crisp. Over the past year, I've reviewed every decision Marcus has made. His sales figures are strong, but his methods raise questions. I pause, letting the words sink in. Take the Harrison account. Marcus claimed credit for a proposal crafted by Jennifer Torres while she was on maternity leave. A gasp ripples through the crowd. Jennifer, seated midway, sits straighter, her eyes wide. Marcus's jaw tightens. That's not, he starts, but I press on. Then there's the Stevens Technology merger, I say, extracting another file. Marcus omitted a $50 million pension liability during due diligence, a fact he knew but buried to secure the deal. The room erupts in murmurs, executives leaning toward each other. Marcus's voice breaks through, shaky. You're twisting it. Evelyn, in business you make tough calls. You wouldn't understand hiding in your ivory tower. I turned to him, my gaze unwavering. Tough calls don't mean stealing credit or deceiving the board. They mean integrity. Something Morgan will now demand. Our father stands, his voice booming. This is outrageous. You can't smear your brother like this. I meet his eyes, calm but firm. I'm not smearing Dad. I'm presenting facts compiled over months of audits. Marcus's charm has carried him far. But it stops here. I turn to the crowd, my voice rising. Morgan Technologies thrives on talent and honesty. Starting today, we reward those who embody that. I find Jennifer in the audience, Ms. Torres. I'd like to meet tomorrow to discuss your role in the Harrison Project and leading our digital transformation initiative. Jennifer's face lights up, a slow smile spreading as Marcus seems to shrink beside me. The whispers grow louder, a tide of realization. My mother rises, her heels clicking sharply. Evelyn, this is jealousy, plain and simple. You've always resented Marcus's success. I hold her gaze, my heart steady. No, Mom, I've resented being dismissed while Marcus coasted on lies that ends now. Miranda, chin steps forward, her voice smooth. Mrs. Mitchell, perhaps we should continue this privately. The board has announcements to make. I nod. My office? I say, gesturing to the corner suite prepared for me. As Marcus and our parents follow their steps heavy, I catch Jennifer's nod of gratitude. The boardroom murmurs fade as we exit, but I feel the shift. Morgan is mine, and I'm just beginning. In the hallway. Marcus's shoulders slumped, his defiance crumbling. I clutched my briefcase, the remaining documents a roadmap for what came next. Outside was now a tapestry of city lights reflecting my resolve. I had exposed Marcus, but this wasn't about revenge. It was about building something better for Morgan, for Jennifer, for all those who had been overlooked. As we approached my office, I knew the most difficult conversation awaited, but I was ready. I had deserved this moment, and I would not back down. The heavy oak door of my new corner office slammed shut, drowning out the hushed murmur of the conference room, and I found myself face to face with Marcus and our parents, in a space that smelled of leather and new ambition. Lake Michigan sparkled beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, its waves a relentless mirror of the storm brewing here. I had just claimed ownership of Morgan Technologies, exposed Marcus's deception, and now beside me, its remaining documents, was a silent jury. But this moment was not about corporate conquest, but about the destruction of a family's warped foundation. As Marcus's eyes burned with rage, I braced myself for the reckoning I had planned as carefully as my takeover. Marcus explodes before I can speak, his voice a jagged edge. You've lost it, Evelyn. You can't just waltz in and ruin everything I've built. His suit, once a symbol of triumph, hangs loose, as if his confidence has deflated. I take my seat, the leather chair creaking under my weight. I didn't ruin anything. Marcus, you did with every shortcut and lie. I own 51% of Morgan. Now every move goes through me. My father steps forward, his face flushed. How this company's worth billions. Where'd you get that kind of money? His tone carries the old dismissal, as if I'm still the bookish girl who couldn't possibly outshine his son. I lean back, fingers tracing the desk's edge. My consulting firm, the one you called a hobby. It optimized tech companies, identified acquisition targets, and turned profits that I reinvested. I didn't need a penthouse or a sports car. I needed control. My mother's voice trembles, her faded designer scarf slipping. But you live in that cramped apartment, drive a beat-up sedan. You shop at Macy's. I nod. Because every dollar went into this, while you bankrolled Marcus's failures. Marcus flinches and I pull a manila envelope from my briefcase, spreading its contents across the desk. Bank statements, property records, wire transfers. These show 5 years of transfers from your accounts to Marcus. I say, my voice low but unyielding. Money from remortgaging your house twice to cover his gambling debts and failed ventures. My mother gasps, her hand clutching her throat. He said it was for investments, she whispers. My father's shoulders sag. Special opportunities. I slide a statement forward. He lost it all. The second mortgage payment is due next week. You can't pay it. The room feels smaller, the air thick with their dawning panic. My father's voice cracks. We thought, maybe you could help. I pull another document, its terms stark. Morgan Technologies will buy your house at market value, clear both mortgages, and let you stay at 30% below market rent. But there are conditions. I meet their eyes unflinching. You'll attend financial counseling. You'll stop funding Marcus, and you'll sign a letter acknowledging how you've sidelined me for years. My mother's tears spill, smudging her mascara. That's blackmail. I shake my head. It's accountability. You've poured everything into Marcus, called me a failure, and now you're drowning. This is your lifeline. Marcus lunges forward, his voice hoarse. You're sending me to Minneapolis. A sales manager, I'm better than that. I stand my blazer crisp against the desk's sheen. You were set for vice president, but your ethics make that impossible. Minneapolis is a fresh start. Your flight's tomorrow first class. I'm not cruel. My father slams a fist on the desk. We'll fight this. I cut in calm as steel. The board approved these changes weeks ago. You three were the only ones in the dark. I slide the agreement forward, a pen beside it. Sign, keep your home, and we'll rebuild. Or don't lose everything and enable Marcus's spiral. The silence stretched as heavy as the depth of the lake outside. My mother reached for the pen, her hand shaking, and signed. My father followed, his face etched with defeat. Marcus stared, then turned away, his fight over. As they left, I saw my reflection in the window. My resolve, my victory. This was not revenge. It was truth, hard and necessary. My phone buzzed, a text from Miranda confirming the board's support. I was ready for what was next for my family and the company I would reshape. 3 months later, my office overlooks the winter glow of Lake Michigan, the Chicago skyline, a mosaic of progress under a gray dawn. I've swapped my Macy's blazer for one. I've chosen simple, unadorned, reflective of who I am. My desk is littered with reports, evidence of Morgan Technologies' transformation. I've just read Jennifer Torres's latest update. Her digital initiative has increased efficiency by 30%, exposing more of Marcus's buried flaws. Minneapolis reports a blizzard. I wonder if Marcus has found his footing yet. As I sip my coffee, a knock on the door interrupts my thoughts. Jennifer with news that opens up Morgan's future and my family's fragile redemption. Jennifer enters her tablet glowing with data. The Stevens audit's done, she says, confident now as head of digital transformation. You were right, Marcus hid more than the pension liability. We found $10 million in overstated assets. I nod, unsurprised. Send the report. And Jennifer, you're doing exceptional work. She beams, leaving me to my thoughts. My parents requested this meeting, their first since signing the agreement. The door opens and they enter thinner. Their designer clothes frayed. My mother's voice is soft. Evelyn, we've been trying to reach you, Marcus. He's struggling. I gesture to the chairs. His sales are below target, I say, pulling up his file. Minneapolis demands results. Not charm, I've ensured his work is scrutinized. My father frowns. It's too harsh. I lean forward. It's what he needs. He's hit rock bottom, admitted his gambling to his director. I've enrolled him in a program for addiction and ethics training. My mother's eyes welled up. You did that? I nod, not for praise, but for change. They exchange glances, and my mother whispers, "We're sorry, Evelyn." For everything, I stood up and walked to the window, the icy lake reflecting my resolve. The advisors will call tomorrow, I said. Let's stick to the agreement and we'll rebuild. They nodded, leaving a little light their respect for me. A new spark, I returned to my desk, assembling reports for the board. In the boardroom, I presented our expansion plan, a $500 million investment in AI. My voice steadied the board, standing tall as I entered. My new jacket fit perfectly, a symbol of my path. Success, I told them, was proving you right. As I rode down the glass elevator, I knew I was just getting started.